You couldn't miss Pat, he was massive. He was a big frigging lump. And he was in the bathroom, it was all lit up, so I could see the shape of him. But I wasn't sure if Sarah was there. So that's why I smashed the window, and he was right in front of me. I just put the gun up. Like I say, I just went into whatever mode it was I went into.
Everybody's heard of the Essex Boys firm. They controlled much of the drugs trade in the southeast of England during the 1990s. But their lucrative operation was eventually closed down when Patrick Tate, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe, the gang's key members, were rendered redundant after being shot through the head. One minute they were sitting in their Range Rover conspiring to flood the county with Class A drugs. The next they were lying in the morgue with their plans and heads in tatters. The police described the crime as a senseless slaughter. I chose to call it fucking justice. News of the three men's demise was the best Christmas present that I, and many others, had ever had. Tate, Tucker and Rolfe were simply bullies who got their comeuppance. There are, of course, those who disagree with me. They try to portray the deceased as decent guys, but they undoubtedly have no idea what they were really like. According to one particular hanger-on, they were misunderstood men who treated their friends like brothers. They lived like kings apparently, and partied like animals. In fact, their heads were so messed up on drugs they didn't have a clue what they were saying or doing. Never mind other people being able to fathom out their madness. I have to concede that their friends were treated well, but only by the NHS when they're on their way to hospital after being beaten or stabbed by those bastards. God only knows what planet these so-called kings were supposed to be from, because here, on terra firma, I was not aware of any kingdom that they ruled. Parted like animals. Yes, okay, I'll give them that one, but only because they were animals. How else can dumb animals behave, other than like dumb animals? That may sound harsh, but don't be fooled by all that mystical bollocks about villains not hurting women and kids and looking after their own. The three murdered men didn't care who they hurt, and they only looked after themselves. They were more than happy to beat, stab, or murder people who dared to interfere in their drug dealing empire. Even that's not entirely true, because they were in fact happy to beat, stab, or murder people simply because they didn't like the look of them. That's why I found myself sitting in my car near Pat Tate's bungalow with a loaded gun in my hand one night. Over the previous 2 weeks, the Essex Boys firm had beaten me, threatened my family, trashed my home, and stolen all my possessions. After all that, they were still telling people they were going to catch me and subject me to a long and painful death. Why? I don't even think they knew the answer to that question. I was supposed to be their mate, one of the boys in the firm. What a fucking joke. I am grateful I was not their enemy. I can clearly remember the night it all came to a head. In fact, it's unlikely that I'll ever be able to forget it. I told myself that I'd had enough of their violence and threats. I was not prepared to take their shit anymore. It was time for them to experience fear. I decided that these morons must die in a hail of bullets. 17th of November, 1994. I spent the evening driving around looking for Tate, Tucker and Rolfe in their usual haunts, but they're nowhere to be seen. I ended up driving past Rolfe's house in Chafford 100, but his vehicle's not in the drive. Tucker's car is also missing from outside his home. I know that if their cars aren't there, they will be absent too, so I drove over to Basildon to look for Tate. The sight of his black Porsche parked outside his bungalow on Gordon Road sends my heart racing, my adrenaline flowing. They're celebrating Tony Tucker's birthday tonight by throwing a party at Snooker Hall in Dagenham. I can imagine Tate in his bungalow, no doubt admiring his steroid bloated frame in some mirror, preparing to join in with the celebrations. Vain fuck. I haven't put any planning into what I intend to do next, so I tell myself that instead of aiming for any particular part of his enormous body, I will just empty the gun I have in my hand as he steps out the front door. My heart is pounding so much that it feels it's going to burst from my shirt. In an effort to remain composed, I pray to a God that I don't even believe in. As my breathing moderates itself, I notice the light being switched on in the bedroom, and I can see the silhouette of a slightly built woman moving across the room. Shit, I hiss through clenched teeth as I punch the centre of the steering wheel. Tate's long-suffering girlfriend Sarah is in the bungalow, and no doubt she has their son with her. I know that I have to abandon my last-minute plan to blow Tate away as he walks out of his home. There is now the possibility that Sarah and their child may come through the door with him, but I'm not dreaming of putting either of them at risk. I start the engine of my car and roar off down the street. Common sense tells me to keep on driving, but I know if I allow Tate to live, then I'm going to die. It really is that simple. I have no choice. I have to go through with this. I have a pump action shotgun hidden not too far away from Tate's home, and I'm beginning to feel that I may need it. If one gun fails me, then Tate will undoubtedly pounce on me, and I will suffer an unimaginable death. I make my way to the outskirts of Basildon, where I retrieve the weapon that I've hidden in a friend's garden shed. The 6-shot pump has been cut down and fits nicely into my jacket. I feel more confident now. I believe that I can end Tate's miserable life, and in doing so, end my own personal misery. I get into the car and head back to Basildon. Pulling over a railway bridge, I check that my weapons are loaded. I secrete the guns in my jacket and exit my vehicle. I'm worried Sarah may see my face. She knows me and may be willing to assist the police if I kill Tate. I haven't had time to get on my balaclava, so I tear open my sleeves from my jumper and using a knife cut 2 holes in it. Tate would hate me if he knew what was coming. He likes to think of himself as Flash, bit of a wide boy. Getting shot is bad enough, but he would find getting shot by a badly dressed assassin extremely humiliating. I laugh to myself. Even my balaclava is a fake. Fuck him. I've given up worrying about what Pat Tate thinks. Tonight, he's going to die. I scale a fence and make my way down a steep railway embankment and onto the tracks. It's pitch black and I stumble more than once as I make my way to the rear of Tate's home. After climbing the railway embankment, I crash through a thorn bush and vault a panel fence. I've landed in Tate's garden. Fearing I may have made too much noise, I run for cover towards his back door. Crouching down, I check my handgun once more and try to remain focused and calm. The back of the bungalow is lit up. The kitchen window is to my right, a bedroom window to my left. In the middle of these is a frosted glass window that I know is the bathroom. I'm beginning to have reservations about carrying out my grisly task, but I know I cannot go back now. Do it, Nipper. Just fucking do it, I keep telling myself. I inhale deeply 3 times, pull on my makeshift balaclava and get to my feet. The bathroom light is on and Tate is moving about behind the glass. I cannot physically see him. I just know that the shadow of the Hulk-like frame can only be Tate's because no other human being I've ever known is that big. I pick up a brick and hurl it at the bathroom window, which explodes upon impact. I'm standing less than 3 feet from the gaping hole in the window when Tate peers out. The expression on his face confirms the fear I believe he's now experiencing. Our eyes meet. I aim the gun at his face and squeeze the trigger. Tate calls out, "No, no!" And I say to myself, yes, oh yes. The trigger of my gun clicks and the fucking thing fails to fire. Realising he has a stay of execution, Tate turns to run and I lean through the broken window. Click. The gun fails me a second time, so I pull the trigger again. A deafening explosion fills my ears. The bullet finds its target and Tate begins to scream, "Get the police! Get the police! I've been shot!" His fear fills me with a perverse sense of power and I crave to end his worthless life. I've been in Tate's bungalow on many occasions in the past, so I'm aware of the layout. As Tate flees from the bathroom, he turns right and I know that he has entered the kitchen. I run around to the side window of that room and attempt to shoot him once more time, but the gun fails to fire for a 3rd time. Begging Sarah to call the police. As I point the gun at him again, he runs out the kitchen and heads towards the front of the property. I assume that he's going to exit via the front door, so I stand facing it, legs apart in a firing position, waiting to blast him with a pump action shotgun that I've taken from my coat. I can hear both Sarah and Tate screaming now. He's shouting down the telephone, "Police, police, get here fucking quick. I've been shot and the gunman is still outside." I could burst into the bungalow and finish Tate off, but I assume that Sarah is comforting him, and therefore would be putting her in danger. My only option is to save myself and leave the scene before the police arrive. I run through the back garden, clamber over the fence and hurl myself into a thorn bush, half running, half falling, and make my way down the railway embankment and jog along the tracks into the darkness. As I climb the railway embankment to get back into the road, I can hear the wail of sirens as the emergency services approach Tate's home. Gasping for breath but determined not to be apprehended, I sprint to my car, jump in, and speed away. I have no idea where Tate has been shot. I'm gutted that he hasn't taken one in the head. I just hope the bastard will not survive, wherever I have hit him. How did I end up in this situation? And what in God's name has caused it? Tucker and Rolf will now try to kill me to avenge their mate. I had only one option left open to me. I'd have to shoot them too. My life was a fucking mess. And it was a mess I could not begin to unravel. I'd taken on the most powerful firm in Essex alone, and I was going to have to live with that fact or die trying to defend myself. If only I could have turned back the hands of time, I would have never have anything to do with these people. But as they say, shit in one hand and wish in the other. See which one gets filled first. I had to stop wishing. I was going to have to deal with the nightmare that I was living. Fortunately, my life had equipped me with enough experience to deal with almost any situation.